Jai Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Guru, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Guru, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare.
Let's all sit upright together and close our eyes for a moment and take this sacred Maha Mantra and its vibration deep into our spine, calling out to Krishna, the beloved, to come play his flute within our soul, to guide us home. Let's try to feel his inward presence for a few moments before our evening begins.
Am I on now? I think so. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Janmashtami celebration. This is an evening of celebrating love and celebrating joy in the form of Krishna. We tune into his essence because today we honor his birth amongst us and within us. And Krishna, we consider one of the gurus of this lineage, of this path. Yogananda said Krishna was an actual being that walked on this earth. He's not just a deity or a mythical image, but somebody who was in the lanes of Vrindavan dancing and playing his flute on the banks of Jamuna. And he also said Krishna was in fact none other than the previous incarnation of one of the gurus on this path, Mahavatar Babaji. He said Krishna later incarnated in the form of Babaji to revive the teachings of Kriya Yoga for this day and age. And so Krishna holds a particular place in our hearts as a guru, and he is considered Jagat Guru, or the guru of this whole planet. What happens when we tune into the presence of an avatar such as Krishna, as Jesus, as Buddha, who lived many hundreds of years ago, is they become somewhat two-dimensional. We tune into them as images, as myths, as deities. And this evening is an opportunity, it's an invitation for us to get past that. We tune into Krishna in the form of all the stories, the wonderful stories that we hear, the beautiful image that you see on the altar of him playing the flute with his legs crossed, his hips slightly bent. These are iconic images which are symbolic in nature, But also, it is an opportunity for us. If he was a real person, his vibration, if he was an avatar, his living presence is with us even today. For us to get past just the stories, the different details of everything that happened, into the living presence of that deity. We tune into Krishna generally in 3 different phases or forms. In India, there are a lot of myths and stories around the life of Krishna. And this evening, we will be going through some of them. Mostly, we will be chanting and rejoicing in Krishna's presence. But the 3 forms in which we generally honor Krishna, the first one is, of course, is the darling baby that we celebrate today. Today is Krishna's birth, and the baby boy who's mischievous, who's stealing butter, who is running around and being naughty all over Vrindavan. We celebrate him in that form, who is the Almighty Divine, who's becoming our baby for us to take care of. And then we see Krishna as the beloved of Radha. We see Krishna as eternal beloved, where we play this divine romance with God in that form. We as the soul, Krishna as God, and constantly seeking that union, that romance between the individual soul and the omnipresent divine soul. And finally, we also honor Krishna as the Guru. Krishna, who led Arjuna in the battlefield, who gave us the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So these are the common images that we have of Krishna that we will tune into through the evening in the next 1.5 hours. But again, as I was saying, let's take this opportunity to get past just the stories, the details, the images. Let's use them as doorways. Let's feel Krishna's presence through those images. But also let's feel his living presence as you chant, as you hear these stories, as you see the beautiful dance that will happen here on the dais. Just feel into that love, into the joy of your own heart, feeling Krishna's presence amongst us. So let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, Saints of all religions, dear friend and guide Swami Kriyananda, we humbly lay flowers of devotion at your feet. Dear Krishna, help us feel your living presence amongst us. Take us to the holy land of Vrindavan. Help us dance in joy with you on the banks of Jamuna. To hear your flute calling us home. Help us feel your presence as the light of the spiritual eye. Awaken within us our desire to be one with thee. Guide us home until we are united in thy love. Om. Peace. Amen.
Brahmanandam Paramhansa
pure, permanent, unmoving, the everlasting seer of all, far, far beyond qualities and thought. Guru Lord, I bow to thee. Guru Lord, I bow to Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om 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 Namo Bhagavate
Happy Janmashtami, everyone. I had the pleasure of the good company of my nephew a few days ago, who is about to turn 5. And he visited me at the Ananda community, just here about 1.5 miles from our temple. And if you haven't been there before, in our community, we have these beautiful shrines dedicated to each of the masters. And in those shrines, there is a beautiful murti of each of the gurus. And I was walking through the lawn with my nephew, him holding my hand. And as we walked by one of the murtis, he paused and he looked and he said, "Keshava, what's that?" And I said, "Well, that's a special little temple." And he said, "Why is there a temple there?" And I said, "Well, do you see that statue?" we have a statue of a very special person inside that temple. And he said, why? And I said, because that person helped thousands of people. And he said, really? I said, do you know what thousands means? And he said, yeah. And I said, do you see how many blades of grass are right here on the lawn? And he said, yeah. I said, as many as there are blades of grass, they helped many times more people. And so still to this day, we build temples to them because we're so grateful for what they've given us. Wow. And he said to me, will they build statues of me one day? And I said, if you help thousands of people, they might. And then what was beautiful is we played a little bit together, and as we were circling back, he saw that someone had placed some flowers in front of a murti of Yogananda. And again, he said, Keshava, why do they put flowers there? And I said, well, because you know when someone does something nice for you, you want to give them a hug to say thank you? Yeah. I said, well, they feel so much gratitude for what that person has given them that they leave flowers at his statue because he's not here right now and we can't give it to him. And then in a beautiful intuitive leap that sometimes children are capable of, he said, is he not here right now because he's somewhere else? And I said, that's right. He's not here right now, but he still receives those flowers and he comes and visits us sometimes. And then what was very dear is we walked indoors into my home again together, and he saw a beautiful painting of Krishna, which I'm sure many of you have seen, and it's a depiction of, the background is all black, and then emerging out of the background is this beautiful blue face of Krishna. And he is the source of all light in the painting, and all you see is him playing the flute, and there's jewels decorating the painting. It's a beautiful depiction of the Lord. And again, he was sitting there looking at this painting, and he said, why is his face so bright? Why is everything else so dark? And I said, well, do you know how sometimes at night it's very dark, but then the moon comes out, and the moon by itself is so bright that it makes it so you can see at nighttime and you know how to find your way home? And he said, yeah. That's what Krishna does for us. Krishna is like the light of the moon that shines in the darkness and shows all of us the pathway home. Wow, he said. So touching. But I wanted to share a little bit about the birth of Krishna today, because for those of you who don't know, we celebrate Janmashtami on a different day of the Gregorian calendar every year. And that's because we don't know if Krishna was born on September 7th or September 1st or September 21st, and frankly, it doesn't matter. But what's interesting is the way we calculate time in orientation to these great avatars is actually by the stars and planets. Because all of the cosmos is a reflection of a cosmic vibration. And the whole study of astrology is just trying to tune into that vibration of the cosmic play. And all avatars pick a moment when they incarnate on this earth. And Krishna chose this moment. And the reason he chose this moment is layered with beautiful and profound symbolism. The moment Krishna was born, the sun was in the constellation Leo, which is the position of the king, the Lord of light. Krishna was unconquerable. He was undefeated as a warrior, as a warlord, as a king. He was truly a god king among men. The sun, which is the source of our power and our radiance. But when you go outside on a hot summer day, can you look long into the sun? It burns your eyes, doesn't it? It's harsh and unapproachable, and it'll scorch your skin. Krishna was born at midnight, at the deepest, darkest hour, in the moment of our most desperate need for light. That's when his compassion came to rescue all of us. He was born not when the sun was at its zenith, but when the moon was directly overhead. And the moon, Krishna is a symbol for compassion, sweetness, love. And the moon, when Krishna was born, was in the constellation Taurus in the star Rohini, which is known for being the most sweet, the most kind, the most lovable, the most adorable. Yogananda has that beautiful chant, adorable him. Oh, adorable him. That is Krishna, the most adorable of all. Krishna shows us that the might and the power and the universe-shaking force of God comes in the most tender sweetness as well. And so we celebrate Janmashtami every year when the sun returns to its home in Leo and the moon glides into that gentle position of the star Rohini. Because if you close your eyes right now with me and you feel very subtly, you'll be able to feel just a glimmer of Krishna's immortal promise to each one of us that the eternal light, the greatness of the Lord, will clothe itself in human form when we are in our most dire of needs and come to us as the form of sweetness, as our dearest friend. I'd like to end now by reading this beautiful Whispers from Eternity dedicated to Krishna from Yogananda. This is an invocation. And Yogananda said that each of these prayer demands were portals unto infinity, and that through them we could experience a specific vibration of God's consciousness, of which Krishna is one. And Master said if we tune into it deeply enough, that Krishna himself would come to us in his own form. So let's sit upright and concentrate at the seat of Krishna consciousness in the body, the point between the eyebrows. And let's all call out together with all sincerity. Let's cry out to the light of Krishna, which is as powerful as a billion suns, but is as gentle, soothing, and tender as the moon. This has come to me as Krishna, the divine cowherd. O Krishna, Lord of Hindustan, I sorrowed by the lonely Jamuna river, where thy flute notes thrilled the air and led lost calves to their divine home. O lotus of love, musing on the sad absence of thy delusion-dispelling eyes, I saw thine invisible spirit take form, frozen by my devotion's frost. Thy divine body of sky blue light walked with feet of eternity on the banks of my mind, planting there the lasting footprints of divine realization. I am one of those lost calves which followed thy flower footprints on the shoals of time. Listening to the melody of thy flute of wisdom, I now follow the middle path of calm activity, by which thou hast led many through the portals of their dark past into the eternal light. Since all souls belong to thy fold, whether we move forward, are sidetracked, or are hemmed in, unmoving in the fogs of disbelief, O divine Krishna, lead us back to thy enfolding shed of everlasting freedom. O Krishna, thou reignest supreme on the heart throne of all those who know thy love. This is a chant to Krishna when he was a boy. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. Let's cry out to Krishna in all of his splendor, also as our childhood friend, with that confidence that surely he will come play with us now. Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana 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 Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana 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 Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana 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 Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana 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 Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana
Nandana Gopala, 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 Devaki Nandana Gopala. Hari Bol, 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 Hari Bol. Hari Bol,
Let's meditate together briefly.
Krishna as the beloved is, for rightful reasons, a very sweet aspect of the divine to tune into. But it's also a powerful aspect for us to tune into, because when we give our hearts to God, God is there to greet us. And the stories of Radha and Krishna are a perfect example of this. And the symbolism of the relationship that's there for us is a relationship that transcends the worldly desires, the desires of the heart and the ego, when we merge completely in our love for the divine. And one story that we see in the life of Radha and Krishna that helps to express this so sweetly is one day Radha was walking through the forest with her beloved Krishna, and she was feeling all of the sweetness and the joy of walking side by side with the Lord, knowing that he was hers. And she began to feel just a little hint of that possession. This is my beloved. Lord Krishna has chosen me. And the thought comes through her mind, and she speaks it out loud, and she says, I'm growing tired. And the Lord turns to her, and Krishna says, oh, would you like me to carry you? And she thinks how sweetly, yes. And she climbs onto the back of Krishna. And as she's riding on the back of her beloved, suddenly she finds herself on the ground. And Krishna's disappeared. And she thinks to herself, what's gone wrong? And she realizes, I tried to hold the Lord all for myself. And in that moment, Krishna disappears. Because God is not something that can be contained. The joy of the divine is not ours to hold or possess. It flows through us like a great river. And as Radha learns to let go of that possession and to live in that love and that heart of the divine, she gives herself completely over to Krishna. And a second story that I'll share in the life of Radha and Krishna tonight is a story when Krishna is dancing with all of his gopis, every single one, and then suddenly he stops and he says, I have a great headache. And all of the gopis are here, and they started to grow a little jealous of Radha and feeling, why is Radha the one who always gets to be chosen? Why is she the beloved of Krishna? Why can't it be me? And so in the midst of their dancing, the Lord stops and Krishna says, I've grown a great headache. And he lays his hand right on his head and he says, who will help me? And of course, all of the gopis rise up. Oh, please let me help you. What can I do? How can I help you? And he says, I need you to lie your feet on the top of my head. And each one aghast, oh goodness, no, I couldn't do that. Because of course, it would be very disrespectful. It would be a great disrespect to lie their feet on the head of the Lord. And so here they are in the midst of this, and Krishna is still aching with his headache, and Radha walks up, and she sees her beloved, and she says, what's wrong? And he says, I have a great headache. And she, just like all the other gopis, says, what can I do? How can I serve you, my beloved? And he says to her, please place your feet on the top of my head. Help me to cure my ailment. And without a moment's hesitation, she begins, yes, of course, my sweet beloved. And all of the gopis are aghast. No, no, don't you know the great, terrible sins, the great, terrible darkness that will come to you if you disrespect the Lord in that way? And she says that if through my actions I can heal the ailments of my beloved, what matters what happens to me? And in that moment, she offers herself completely. And all of the gopis realize that the blessing of Radha, the beloved, is that she thinks not of herself in her love for the divine, but she thinks, how can I give my heart more completely, more wholly into the divine? And of course, in that moment, Krishna rises up and he is cured and he is well. And all of the gopis see, this is why Radha is the beloved. And the power of the stories of Radha and Krishna is that we are Radha. We are there, lying at the feet of our beloved, offering ourselves, and all we need to do is rest in the perfume of that self-offering, to give ourselves into that relationship that transcends anything of earthly pleasures. Yogananda has a beautiful chant, in this world, mother, no one can love me. And it can be a heart-wrenching chant when we hear it at first. But there's such joy on the other side of giving ourselves completely into the divine. And the stories of Radha and Krishna, the life of Radha and Krishna, doesn't work out perfectly in the end. It's not a storybook love story, but it's the story of a disciple giving their life to the beloved. And so that is mirrored in each one of us when we offer ourselves to the divine. And what we'll share now is a beautiful dance. We'll have a depiction of Radha and Krishna dancing together in spirit and nature as they're transcending that worldly love and expressing their devotion to one another on a higher plane. And so as they're dancing tonight, our two dancers depicting Radha and Krishna will be dancing in traditional Indian style, and you'll see different mudras and different, asynchronicity in terms of the dancing, all of which is helping to express the great power and the great vibration of these two souls. Just give us one moment to rearrange.
is always floating on the thought of my Lord. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. My mind is always floating on the thought of my Lord. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river. Krishna playing his flute on the banks of the blue river.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let's meditate together.
We looked at Krishna's birth, and then we saw the beautiful interplay and the joy of sharing love with Krishna as Krishna and Radha danced with us. And now we come to the fulfillment of the incarnation of Krishna, why he incarnated in the first place, the Bhagavad Gita, the Battle of Mahabharata, and Krishna, who presented himself as the Guru to Arjuna and to all of us through the teachings that he offered on the battlefield. For those of you that are not familiar with these stories, the Mahabharata is an 18-day battle. And Krishna, the reason he incarnated was to actually be on a world-changing mission. He played an important role in this battle that determined the future of the country, and it's also an allegorical battle, as Yogananda explained. I won't go into all those details right now, but I just wanted to share a few little snippets of how we tune into Krishna as the Guru, who the Guru really is. Because the Guru is a form of compassion. The Guru comes with no personal agenda. He has no reason to be here except to lead all of us into liberation. And that's why all the incarnations, all the avatars come, and that's why Krishna came. As he says in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever virtue declines and vice predominates, I take human form and I walk amongst men. I come onto this plane in order to re-establish virtue. And that's what he did. The Mahabharata was this huge battle. Again, as I was saying, Yogananda explained that every character in the story is allegorical. They represent an aspect of our own consciousness. And the battle is happening between the forces of upliftment in our own spine and all the forces of delusion that are drawing us down. Now, without getting into the allegory of it, I want to share 3 brief little snippets from the war of Mahabharata that illustrate and present Krishna as the Guru that we can tune into. All of this happening on the battlefield as the war is being fought between these 2 clans of cousins called the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Pandavas are the good guys, Kauravas are the bad guys. You don't need to know a whole lot more. And I'll share. There is a lot to know, but we won't get into it right now. In the middle of the battle, after the first 8 days, there is this very important character called Bhishma. Yogananda said Bhishma represents the ego. He represents that ego identity within all of us. And he fights on the side of the Kauravas, or the bad guys. However, ego is subtle. He's not a bad person himself, but he sides with delusion. So that's why Bhishma has to fight the war with the Kauravas. Now, what happens in this battlefield is Krishna has taken a vow to be Arjuna's charioteer. Arjuna represents the disciple. Arjuna represents all of us. He represents the will that is in us to uplift ourselves, to surrender to the divine. And Krishna represents the Guru. He represents God. He represents the intuitive guidance of our own soul, guiding us through the battle of life. And as Bhishma is fighting on the opposing side on this battle, Duryodhana, who is sort of the chief villain, he represents all of the material desires and delusions. He is very unhappy with Bhishma. He feels that Bhishma is not doing his best job on the battlefield. And Krishna, who is a neutral party in this whole battle, because Krishna represents the divine consciousness that never fully descends onto the material plane. He appears not to fight the battle with us, but actually to guide us in the battle. So even before the battle began, while he is riding or guiding Arjuna's chariot, he takes a vow that I will never lift a weapon. I'm not going to be part of this war, but I'm going to help you fight, and I'm going to help you win this battle. So Bhishma is now fighting the battle against the Pandavas, against Arjuna, and Duryodhana is pressurizing Bhishma, saying, you're not fighting hard enough. So in order to prove his own righteousness, Bhishma gets very, very violent, and Arjuna is finding it hard to face his own grandfather, that's who Bhishma is, on the battlefield, and he's not able to fight this battle. And Krishna is constantly counseling him. You have to do this. This is dharma. You have to fight Bhishma. You have to win the Kauravas. That's what we are here for, and that's the whole teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. But at one point, when Arjuna is no longer able to lift his bow, and when he's no longer able to face Bhishma, Krishna gets out of the chariot. He actually gets onto the battlefield, and he lifts the fallen wheel of one of the chariots, and he goes to attack Bhishma himself. Now, Bhishma, he represents ego, but he is a man of deep self-awareness. He immediately understands the Lord of the universe, Krishna, who is the divine incarnate in human flesh, is actually standing in front of him asking for his life. He's about to take his own life. Immediately, he drops his bow and arrow, and he says, this is the greatest fortune of my life. It would be my honor to die in your hands. And at that point, Arjuna jumps out of the chariot and he pleads, he holds Krishna's feet and says, Lord, I don't want you to break your own vow. I don't want you to lift a weapon and attack somebody in this battle. So I will do this. And next day they return to the battlefield and Arjuna is able to accomplish more than the previous day. I won't get into the end of that story because it's still complicated after that. But even just that part, I wanted to share that story because There's an important moral in that story. God breaks his own rules. He makes the rules and he breaks them. And that's what the Guru is, because when you're driven by compassion, that infinite divine grace that descends in the form of these masters, as Krishna, as Jesus, as Yogananda, it is not coming simply to set God's law aright. Of course, there is the law that has been defined by God, which we all live by, the law of karma. But God operates above that, and God's compassion operates above that. As Yogananda said, Divine Mother, when you pray to her, when you say, I'm naughty, but you have to help me, she always helps. And that's what Krishna represents in that story. Divine compassion transcends divine law. God breaks his own law for the devotee. And when we tune into God, when we appeal to his compassion, he comes to us in that way. Another story I want to share is with a different character. His name is Karna. He's a very, very famous character in the Mahabharata. Now, again, I won't go into all that he represents. He's a good guy. He's very noble. But he also ends up fighting on the side of the Kauravas. And he is impossible to defeat. Nobody can defeat him on the battlefield. So Krishna has to play a lot of tricks to help Arjuna defeat Karna and for him to make progress in this battle. And on the day when Arjuna is actually facing Karna to defeat him in the battle, Krishna has already played a lot of vices, setting up that whole premise, making sure Karna cannot win in this battle. And again, through lots of tricks, all of which we won't get into right now, Krishna ultimately achieves that. He makes Karna's chariot gets stuck in the mud, and he gets out to actually lift his wheel. His charioteer walks away, and at this point, it would be against the rules of war to attack somebody who is in that position. But Krishna looks at Arjuna and says, this is the moment. Shoot your arrow. This is the moment you can take his life. And Arjuna does that because he's following Krishna's orders. And the story that I wanted to share with you is after Karna actually leaves, after he dies, after he's defeated by Arjuna, the Mahabharata says Krishna shed a tear. And here Krishna was counseling Arjuna to actually be ruthless in taking the life of somebody who had no arms, who had to get out of the chariot, who had to get out of the battle. And yet, after Arjuna is doing that, Krishna also cheers Karna for his piety, his nobility. And that is an important lesson for all of us. The lesson here is simply that victory and defeat are not what it looks like on this plane. Karna, by all means, the entire story, he is the person who loses the most in the battle. If you read the story of the Mahabharata, it is a very, very sad and poignant story that brings tears to your eyes. However, you never know whether he's winning or losing because Krishna was with him. Krishna was shedding a tear for Karna's sake. And in other folklore, it is said that Krishna actually met Karna when he was dying and he liberated him during that moment. The last story I want to share is of Kunti. Kunti was the mother of the Pandavas. The Pandavas do end up winning the battle. However, there is a lot of loss. Pretty much everybody else is dead. And the end of the battle, Kunti is a great, great devotee of Krishna. And she goes to Krishna. And Krishna asks her, do you have any wishes? Do you have anything that you want to ask of me? This is an exact quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, and I want to read it for you, the translation of the verses of what Kunti says. Just give me a moment. She says, let there be calamities. Let all those calamities happen again and again. I welcome dangers because when dangers come, I can remember you, my Lord. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again. For seeing you means we will no longer be in the repeated cycle of births and rebirth. So, that is the lesson. It's not that we have to wish for calamities in our life, but that devotion to the Guru, that devotion to God is the pole star, is the anchor that carries us through everything that we face in our lives. So, with that, I'll just share this last verse from the Bhagavad Gita, again from the 18th chapter, which is almost like the crest jewel of the whole scripture. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. That's what Krishna says. What does that mean? Renouncing all ideas of right and wrong, surrender unto me. I will take care of your karma. Don't worry. That's the promise that we have. And as we tune into Krishna, we'll share one more chant with you, and then we will do a big arti that all of you can participate in, and then we'll come collect prasad at the altar.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Shri Radhe Govinda.
We invite invite all of you to stand now as we sing and do the arti. You can all offer your own heart's wishes to the altar as we will be waving. For those of you that are not familiar with the ceremony, we'll be waving different objects like incense, Ganges water, and light, and the fan, all offering to Krishna. And then they will also be brought to you so that you can receive the blessings as well.
Krishna
Before we end our evening, let's offer a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, Saints of all religions, dear friend and guide Swami Kriyananda, thank you for your presence with us today. Dear beloved Krishna, be born in us today. Help us feel your living spirit in our hearts as love, as pure joy, and help us share this love and joy with all whom we meet. we will continue chanting now, and I invite all of you to come up to the altar to offer your own personal prayers, and there is some prasad that you can take. Either you can have here or take home with you.
My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. So I do love thee, tamal tree. So I do love thee, my tamal tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the tamal tree, on a branch of the tamal tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the tamal tree, on a branch of the tamal tree. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. So I do love thee, tamal tree. So I do love thee, my tamal tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the tamal tree, on a branch of the tamal tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the tamal tree, on a branch of the tamal tree. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. So I do love thee, tamal tree. So I do love thee, my tamal tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the tamal tree, on a branch of the tamal tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the tamal tree, on a branch of the tamal tree. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. So I do love thee, tamal tree. So I do love thee, my tamal tree. And when I die, O mother, do put me high on a branch of the tamal tree. On a branch of the tamal tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. 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 On a branch of the tamal tree. On a branch of the tamal tree. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the tamal tree is blue. So I do love thee, tamal tree. So I do love thee, my tamal tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the tamal tree. On a branch of the tamal tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die. On a branch of the tamal tree. On a branch of the tamal tree. On a branch of the tamal tree. On a branch of the tamal